you actually own your own destiny. Money is a byproduct of all activities. It's trust first and then the brand. Building a product to earn money in the long run, that means you first burn, learn, or you learn and burn. Those two can be interchanged. But earn has to come last. Same voice, same tone, same message.
Hey, you are listening to Dream 100 Business Show podcast with Savita Husamane. Our mission at Dream 100 Business Show is to help business owners move to the next level in their personal growth and business growth brand journey. In this episode, we talk to Dr. Mohit Lalvani, who is the founder of Captain Zack, a premier pet care brand. He is also the managing director and CEO of Mascot Group of Companies. From the time you wake up to the time you go back to bed, all the commodities that are being used from the toothbrush to the mattress are all brands. So why do we go on using these brands for years together or sometimes for generations together? How do these brands get built? Who are the persons behind the brand? Today, we are fortunate as we get a chance to talk to Dr. Mohit Lalvani, who shares about the keys to making a successful brand. He himself is a huge brand to reckon with, and he is a great brand maker and a deal maker as well. So let's hear it out from him, how he built premium successful brands and products in his entire span of 35 years, right here, right now on Dream 100 Business Show. And let's get started. So welcome to Dream 100 Business Show, Mr. Mohit. It's truly an honor and pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much, Savita. It's an honor to be here as well.
Awesome. From what I understand is you have had a very great experience of 35 years in the industry, and you have been building a lot of brands. So what do you think are the things which an entrepreneur should keep in mind when they start a business?
So a couple of important things is basically, as an entrepreneur, you have to start, whenever you get into any activity, there is no end. So there is no end date. It's an infinite role that you're playing in life. You actually own your own destiny. The most important thing that I feel as an entrepreneur, and then if you've chosen this life, is basically consistency of what you do. So when I spent 35 years in the industry, I tried different things also. If they didn't work, I aborted them very, very fast. So the number of abortions I did were much more. But eventually, when I'm on my path, then there's no stopping me. You have to experiment and see what you want out of life. So when you start getting satisfaction and gratitude from what you do, money is a byproduct of all activities. Money you can get if you do even anything which you're not even qualified for. So it's consistency and relentlessness, basically.
So you mean to say when one starts off with a brand, as long as they're consistently in the audience eyes, or they are being visible in the market, slowly the brand builds on. So somewhere they have identified themselves. And then when do you think the loyalty for the brand comes?
So, I'm going to put two hats on. One is where I build some brands. The other way is where I run a business which is B2B, which also is a brand. So loyalty, who is paying your salaries? Your customer. You have to have loyal customers. And there's a technique of retaining customers and building loyalty. The answer is very simple. It's how you serve your customer. At every department, at every level, the one thing that I believed in is I serve the customer first, and my team serves customer if they look at me. Now, for me, my customer is not the customer who's buying my product and paying me money. It's also my team. So it's all about serving one another. If you can serve each other, you serve your customer, it's a winning combination in your hand. So my entire team has learned from me. Whoever comes to me always says there's no one better than you.
Awesome. So, in this process, how do you think an emotional connection comes? Because we see that loyal customers or returning customers have some kind of emotional connect to the brand. And sometimes when it is B2B, your end customer, you might not even be looking at their face. So, but still they resonate with the brand.
Yeah. So I think loyalty and emotions for the brand are very important factors. Most of the brands, the first brand ambassador is the founder, right? And that person has to be the one selling himself, trying it himself, using it in his friends and family himself. So in my journey, I've launched a couple of brands which are hair and skin. Believe me, we use it on ourselves day in and day out. I've launched a brand for pets called Captain Zack. I launched it because my pet Zack, when he was alive, it was launched for him. And I mean, all those who know me know that Zack only uses Captain Zack products. Not now he's not alive anymore. But I've got 8 other pets. And everything in my home is Captain Zack. So it's basically, if you make something that where you want to build loyalty within your brand, you have to somehow or the other tell people that you're using it first. So much so that the treats that we have, they are called chicken jerky treats. I actually have it myself. I break it, dip it into some hummus like a lavash, and I have it, with my drink. It's tasty.
Oh
And
my God.
because it's chicken that you and me would eat. It's just because he's an animal doesn't mean it's bad. Though there are some brands that make products which are byproducts of animals as well, but not us. Captain Jack does not do that.
Okay, here I have a question. See, some brands of late, like I was talking to a few people, they were telling me, especially in chocolate, this much amount of rodent hair or other things is allowed, and still people consume chocolates. But we do not know what might be the actual effect of it. So, well, what is your take on this? When somebody is building a brand, and how does the value come out? Mm.
So, Savita, there are 2 ways to look at this. One is the route that you're taking. If you're taking a mass market Me Too route, then you are actually telling people that if Cadbury makes it, I make it. If Royal Canin makes it, I'm doing same thing. But I think what's happening is that luckily India in the last over half decade, 5-7 years, has got a lot of founders who've understood what the consumer does not want to have, right? And what the consumer does not want to have is something that can cause harm, because a lot of things are just not just harming your system very, very brief, very basically, but they're also causing long-term effects, long-term harm, like cancer causing, carcinogenic, right? So you don't even know. Today, people wonder, why did you get cancer? It's, of course, it's in hormones and it's genes as well. But at the end of the day, it's also what you eat and drink, correct? And what you put on your face. So in my skincare brand, we use products that absolutely are not carcinogenic. Nothing. There's no evidence of carcinogenic or cancer causing. Similarly, in pets. So I just think that I mean, whatever the product, it could be a chocolate, it could be a product for your pets. I think it's important for each brand to actually, the way they communicate, the honesty. And honesty starts. See, look, it's very difficult to you could have a placard and say, I don't use preservatives, I am natural, or I don't have anything which is parabens, and all those things which are preservatives. But you actually have it in your brand, right? We don't know that. Trust is not built on what you say. Trust is built over a period of time when you build loyal customers, because the product has to work, the product has to have the correct effect. And that's why, the thing is that I have launched, and I call them brands for this discussion right now. But I've had a hair care, skincare brand, which I still today, I don't call them brands, because they have not been good enough to be called a brand. They're still products. And when you reach a stage where a product becomes a brand, now Captain Zack, which is my pet care product, that's become a brand. It's because I have 10,000 pet parents who are standing in the country vouching for me. Today, if anything that I say, I have 10,000 pet parents saying Mohit is truthful. We know Mohit. What he does for Captain Zack is great. My pets will use it. I know nothing happened to my pets. It won't cause any harm. How has that happened? And why didn't it happen in my skincare brand? Right? The difference is I went the emotional route. In my skincare brand, I went the route where I wanted to sell a product by saying my products are harmless, the formulations are good, but there was no emotion. And it's very difficult to sell skincare with emotion. It's some people say it's easy, but it's not easy. When it came to pet care, you're talking to a pet parent who's got a child who's a pet, right? And they have no clue because there's a customer and there's a consumer. They have no clue of the consumer. I played on their emotions because I realized I have a pet, they have a pet. And if my pet eats it, so can yours. If I eat it, so can your pet. I exposed my entire family to the world. If I have 10,000 pet parent who know me, 5,000 know my wife's name, right?
Mm-hmm.
5,000 know my daughter and son's name because it's plastered all over. I try to make it a very emotional brand where it brings tears to people's eyes. I've cried while talking to people about their pets and my pets because they live a short life. They die at the age of 10. So, that's where trust comes in. Its trust is built brick by brick. And unless you play the emotional card, you can't build trust by just saying my product doesn't have this or my product has that. Absolutely no.
Mm-hmm. So when does a product actually become a brand?
See, now it could take 1 year also. It could take even 10 years, right? But I just feel a product becomes a brand when you have a community talking about the product, and the word of mouth sale is when the product becomes a brand. So the moment someone says that, okay, I'm using Captain Zack, please use it, and that word spreads, that if you're saying I'm buying this product because it's 500 rupees and I'm getting it at 450, and someone says, okay, no, I'm buying that product that's 475 or this is 425, that's not a brand at all. That could be an established brand. But at the end of the day, in my view, a brand is something which is reached a stage of life where word of mouth sale takes it higher. And that's very important because I'm saying for the last 5-7 years old entrepreneurs, for them to build a brand, it's very important to build a community who talks about your brand. And that's when a product becomes a brand.
Mm-hmm. So what about the scalability of this product? You mean to say word of mouth scalability will take certain amount of time as compared to other mediums?
See, word of mouth is going to build you trust, and then money will build you scalability. But if you have not built the trust, then no matter what money you put in, you can't scale up. Because you're just putting in money to make the product into a brand. But then Savita's buying it and she's not buying it again. Mohit's buying it, not buying it again. And that happens. So you'll find 10 Savitas and 10 Mohits, but that Savita 1 will not come again. Savita 2 will not come again. Savita 11 will come. Right? So you are increasing your sale numbers, but the Savita 1 has to come again. How do you get that? Once you get Savita 1, and then you spend money on Savita 1, she'll buy 5 more things that you have.
Mm-hmm.
So
amazing.
That's the way. It's trust first and then the brand.
Mm-hmm. So initially during the building up years, entrepreneur has to focus on building trust rather than looking at the profitability.
Yeah, profit. So there are, I always use this word. There's 3 words that people look into in business. There's earn, burn, and learn. Right? Very tricky. What comes first? So for me, it's always been burn. Because I have to burn money for me to learn, and eventually I'll earn. So for me, in these 3 words, earn comes last. But there are some people who say, no, I'm building a product to earn first. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, if you're building a product just to earn money, your life will be cut short at some point of time. Building a product to earn money in the long run, that means you first burn, learn, or you learn and burn. Those two can be interchanged. But earn has to come last. And when I'm saying burn and learn, these two are a combination of you investing your time, talking to people, building a community, sampling with people, taking part in gated communities, taking part at events, being there. An entrepreneur cannot sleep.
Okay. The biggest challenge now for most of the entrepreneurs is building a community. They say that we have X number of customers who have tried and who have given testimonials also, who are happy with the brand or with their products. But building a community is a challenge. So can you share some insights on how to build a community?
So you have to strike the emotional chord. That's why it's, these mother and baby brands, pet care brands, they've got a slight advantage because you're talking to somebody's child. So it's very, very, very tough in the very thin line between a customer trusting what you're saying and not trusting. And I think trust, like I said, is built on the moment you strike the emotional chord. Telling you, I don't want to name the brands. Some of the biggest brands in the country are just increasing their top line, increasing their sales, but there is zero emotional connect. But now what's happening is, in the last 3 to 5 years, those founders have realized the value of them talking about the brand. So the moment the founder talks about the brand, right, then people realize that, wow, see, people want to know who's behind the brand. So are you using it? What are you doing? What's your life? How do you spend your time? And they look at you and, they have to trust. See, all it takes is one moment of trust. Because see, why is it called a startup even if you are 5 years old? Even if you're 200 crores, you're still called a startup. 200 crores is a lot of money. So where's the question of startup? It's been coined a startup because it's emerged. It started as a startup and it's emerged. So end of the day, as a startup, you still need to be humble. You still need to be there, talk to your people, talk to your consumers, build the trust. So that trust is the defining factor.
Awesome. So in this case, we see that some of the startups, they take the exit route after they have traversed the path for a certain amount of time. They have the new owners coming in. So when the new owners come in, do you think they can do justice to what the earlier person had built a strong emotional connect? So now the new person has come in. Can they build that same kind of emotional connect with the consumers?
That's a very good question because I'm going to tell you that like I said, I had two brands. One was skincare, hair care, and one was for humans, and one is for pets. And I could exactly tell you the reason why the pet care brand was much, much more successful than the human care brand because of the emotional connect and the trust that I built. 10,000 pet parents are on my fingertips on my phone on one broadcast message, not one, but many, because I have to make many group chats, but one broadcast message, and they will all reply and they'll all be interacting, and they know my name. They know, like I said, they know everything about me. Now, if you ask me, when you have a founder who's raised money, right? The founder runs his brand, and then a new investor comes in. He comes in with a new set of ideas, a new set of teams. I think it's very important for the founder to put his foot down, and I've done that, to put his foot down and say, I will not, I want to retain the absolute core of the brand. And I don't say cores with an S, core. There's only one core. What does your brand mean? If it's one core, which should be one core, don't deviate from that core. Other than that, there are cosmetic changes that keep happening. Change is the only constant. You can't help that. And obviously, your investors are coming in, putting in money the next round because they wanted to make more money. So money will come, money will go. That's part of life. But don't move away from your core. As a founder, if you've built something for a purpose and you've built a community and you've built trust, the last thing you want is to betray your loyal customers.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. So now we have the same kind of situation when the second generation of entrepreneurs come into the brand. So again, there is a new thought, new wave. Sometimes they feel that they come with new ideas and they feel that this is the way that we have to carry things forward, where we can make things big. And so for such entrepreneurs, what would be your message?
So I have seen literally as many failures of the next generation coming in, or as equal to as many successes as well, right? And the one differentiating factor is the ego between the father and the son, or father and daughter, or mother and son, mother and daughter, right? And I think that brings in a point, because the fact is that sometimes your father's better than you, right? Are you willing to admit that? But I know what my son can do better than me, and I know what I can do better than him as well, right? But at the end of the day, if you've been given the baton and say that you're the next in command, and you are now going to be looking after this, you have to know what good your father or mother have done to the business. Pick those values and tell your father to stay on and make changes. See, look, there are a lot of changes that the next generation can make, which are more towards technology. Which probably, so let's say it's my son and I, right? I don't know. I'm a little weak on I'm tech challenged, right? So, and that's precisely why I built my Captain Zack pet grooming brand on talking to customers on WhatsApp, because that for me was the easiest medium. People use different tools and all fancy ways. Those are not those sound robotic. Then people wondering, hey, are you the founder? They ask me questions. Who are you? Are you really the founder? Whatever. I tried installing all softwares, and then I said, forget it. It does not work because it doesn't sound like me. So I wanted to be myself. I made mistakes in typing. I sent them hugs. A robot will not send hugs. Right? So it all depends on what you want to what your next generation is coming in for. But obviously your next generation has to come in to take over the business. Right? So in the start, it has to be a mix of what your parents are good at and what you're good at, and strength and weaknesses combined. And keep egos aside, because egos is the biggest make or break when a next generation comes. We've seen it happening all over the country also.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful insight. So how do we draw the balance between profitability and the value system? One generation sees profitability, one generation sees the value system. Or sometimes even a startup also, they feel that, oh, in case we have to survive, we have to be profitable. So how do they bring in that balance?
So, I mean, values, you can't compare values to profitability, because values is completely above all. Profitability comes way under values. If somebody's trying to do something against values for profitability, then that person will not last for long, right? And believe me, today's consumers, they know. They're very smart. The average age of the Indian population is under 25, and 60% of the population is under 25, or give and take 25. And these guys are extremely smart. You can't fool them. You can fool anybody who's 30 plus, but you can't fool someone who's under 25. No chance. So if you try to try to increase your profitability for your brand at the cost of eroding value, it will have a short life. So I mean, I keep them both separate. I think values are most important. But if you look at profitability versus, non-profitability, for example, right? It all depends on what you're building your brand for. Like, for example, these days there's a big buzz on funding, and whatever. And it's become a joke, because I also got funded 2 rounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I also had my fun. But what happens is, it's not your money, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's somebody else's money. It's your money as well, because you're risking your money in it. Then what's happening is, the moment you get funded, you tend to burn more. You don't earn more.
Mm-hmm.
If it's your money, you might want to earn faster than you burn, possibly. But if it's not your money and it's funded money, there is no way you can earn. You're only burning, right? And the more you're burning, the faster you need more money. So it's like you're constantly chasing. It's like you've given somebody a head start of 5 kilometers and saying, now let's run together. You can never catch up with somebody 5 kilometers unless you're Usain Bolt.
Awesome. What would your advice be to entrepreneurs who want to start off, or who have already started off, and who are thinking of coming out with the products, but their products are not selling? And so what would your advice be to them? Hold on for how long?
I have a simple period of 12 months. If it's 12 months and you have not achieved what you want to achieve in those 12 months, abort. Just chop it off. The moment you cross that 12-month period, don't stop. Because I have seen in my last 30 years, I have bought businesses, acquired businesses, sold them, at least about 7-8 different types of businesses. And what's not worked in a 12-month period has seen every season, every climate of the country. If it's not worked in 12 months, it's not going to work.
Amazing. Now, for the next stage, now let's say after 12 months they have started. So, how do they start building the culture of the company? Now, this founder has got a strong value system. He has communicated to his customers, and thereby the value is building gradually. But now, communicating the same to their internal team, because as the business starts expanding, the team also starts expanding. So, any insights on how to build the culture?
So when you start a company, you are one or two or three or five or 10 people, right? And then you're saying as you start growing, you become 50 and then you become 100, right? To me, culture is all about transparency, right? It's only transparency. Something is good and you say it and it's transparent, it will be passed on right to the bottom. So the more transparent you are at the top, it reaches everybody in the bottom as well. And transparent, when I mean, I don't mean that, I'm just saying, I'm talking about what I want to launch. It's not about business. It's about why I built the brand. Like that's why in the start, remember I said, retain your core. Don't change your core. Which you don't change your core. See, anything that you do, at no stage, if you said a lie, you can't go wrong. But you know what happens is in brands, what happens, they forget why they built a brand and they suddenly make a new statement, then they change, and then they don't realize because they've said so. By the way, so many brands, so many founders, this is a very important tip. A lot of founders have forgotten when they pitch to an investor that they've said certain things that they've forgotten that they're not done right. And the next investor, they don't say it. And when two investors talk, they say, but इसने ये बोला, उसने ये बोला ही नहीं. मतलब क्या हो गया? भूल गया उसको. Because वो क्या होता है? On the spot, that founder is thinking कि I'm talking to Savita today. She looks like she wants to hear this, so I'll say what she wants to hear. Then I'm talking to somebody else today, I'll say what he wants to hear. That's not the way it works. You have to be consistent with your core. Why did you build the brand? Transparent. Talk about it openly. Whether it's your teammate or your potential investor or your actual investor or your stakeholder or your peer, same voice, same tone, same message.
Wow. So that's where the salability also happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. So, in your experience, what has been the greatest learning for you?
So, the greatest learning for me has been literally to stay in one industry for 35 years, right? And I did try in these 35 years with two different types of activities and businesses where I deviated. And sure enough, in 12 months, I cut it out because it didn't work. And whatever I did in my industry crossed the 12-month period and it's still going on. So that's the biggest experience. Stay in the industry that you were born to be made for. Mm-hmm. It's there. Everyone's born to do something. You have to know that. You have to understand that.
Awesome. So any one compliment that you remember, which is very memorable for you?
There is a person called Darshan Bhai who's built a couple of big brands like Live On and Fog and so on and so forth. And he says that, at the age of, when I was about, it was when 2002, so I was about 32 years old. He said that where are you coming up with such crazy innovations? You should be the innovator of the century. I gave him so many innovations to launch, right? And he said, you should be for me, you should be the innovator of the century. I don't know why you did not, where were you all these years?
Awesome. Great. So with this, we almost come to the end of our conversation. And if you feel that there is something more valuable which we have missed out in this part of the conversation, please feel free to add.
Because I'm absolutely more than happy on a pro bono, no cost, to help anybody and guide anybody with, if they want to know what direction to take, how to take, what to take. Also, if they want to know when to raise funds, how to raise funds, and who to contact with. I've got a lot of good connections as well. I can actually help them also meet investors. Because for me, it's very important that I have got a lot of failures and successes, right? And my failure has taught me something that I can teach somebody else. And if I failed, I don't think that it's not that because I failed, you might fail. But if I share the reason why I failed, you might let them. There could be some learning for you in it also. So I think it's important because many people want to impart success, right? But they don't want to impart failure. I want to also impart failure.
Wow. So if people want to reach out to you, how do they reach out to you?
So you feel free to give my number if you want, no problem. And let them give a reference that they've come through your podcast. So you know that it might be also good for you going forward, that if this becomes a trend, then, again, what are you doing right now? You're building trust, right? So if you're looking at trust, I've given you my number to give to them, right? And you're building a level of trust amongst your loyal listeners. They'll come back to you for the next podcast, hoping to learn something, and then looking to get connected to that person.
Wow.
And that's how you build an emotional connect. And then you build a community. People talk about it. Because if someone says, hey, how did you meet Mohit Lalvani? I got to know on Savita's podcast. Straight, word of mouth.
You make it sound so simple. No wonder now I know why people love you so much.
And you notice there's nothing but transparency. I'm just giving you my number. I'm telling you I'm not going to charge you a penny. It's as simple as that. And vice versa. I'm sure I'm going to learn from you because you've spoken to so many people yourself. So it'll be nice to be in touch with you as well and learn from.
Great. So it was wonderful chatting with you. Thank you so much for giving your wonderful time and all your wonderful insights and making it sound so simple and nice. It looks like it is a cakewalk. It is not at all a challenge.
Every day you wake up with a smile and you sleep with a smile. In between the day, you do lose your smile, but that's fine.
So what has been your biggest challenge?
My biggest challenge has sometimes been adapting to change, right? And I think it's very important that I have not been able to embrace technology at the pace it's moving, and that's why I feel that it's important to identify that my next generation, which is my kids, my son and daughter, do join me and double up for my weakness.
Wow, nice. Great insights and huge learning. And yes, we will stay in touch. And of course, it's been wonderful talking to you.
Thank you so much.
I thank Dr. Mohit for sharing his heartfelt and touching moments in building personal and professional brands. Mohit's journey teaches us how trust and serving customers are two of the most important aspects of running a successful business. In today's world where competition is fierce and customers are more demanding than ever, having a loyal customer base is essential for any business to thrive, isn't it? And here, Mohit reveals that customer loyalty can be achieved through consistent communication, providing a reliable customer service, and by delivering on promises. So, if you are keen on building a brand or taking your brand to the next level, or you want to get connected with investors, then do not wait any further. Grab the chance of getting in touch with Mohit Lalvani and just say Savita's podcast for reference. To get hold of Mohit's number, get in touch with me and I will do the needful. Share this episode to someone whom you feel needs to listen and take action now. Thank you so much for being such a wonderful listener. Take action now.